So last year, the Big 12 decided they didn't want the Bearcats or Tigers or Cougars or Huskies as much as they said they did. And when the NCAA decided that 10-team conferences can now host a conference title game, the home of the spread offense and also Kansas State got to have its cake and eat it too, creating a world where the top dog off of a round-robin schedule can lose the championship to a team they probably beat in October. 3 cheers for the spoiler effect. So the current teams keep more money and the various big cats of the world wait on the sidelines. Big deal. The bargaining agreement doesn't come up for a few years yet, you say. That's as good as forever. Well, like the British kicking the can on Hong Kong down a few generations, forever comes faster than you think. And the Big 12 is still in the weakest position market-wise of any Power 5 league. The SEC is some of the biggest brands in football. They stretch from Florida to frickin' Missouri. Plus, they have the real 12th man. Sorry, Seattle. The Big Ten stretches from Nebraska to Jersey, and they get those major markets like New York and Chicago locked down. The ACC is the biggest footprint in the US of A. They stretch from Miami to Louisville to Boston. How do you like them apples? And as for the old Pac-12, West Coast is the best coast, and they get beautiful Boulder, Colorado, too. And they're the only ones out there. It's good to be a monopoly. Big 12, by comparison, is super regional. It's almost weirdly like a group of 5 conference, except for the weird outlier that is West Virginia. It's all teams in the Great Plains and Texas, and for the few big cities they do have, they share those markets with other conferences. Think about the big city they have for themselves, Dallas. It's a nice town, but not exactly New York or Chicago, you know what I mean? For the most part, maybe that's why the conference hasn't expanded. It's obviously why Houston wasn't added. Not really stepping outside the old comfort zone with that one. Memphis is still pretty regional. Cincinnati and Connecticut expand the footprint, but think about it. Connecticut's too far away, and are you really going to pull top talent to Cincy instead of Ohio State? I don't think so. The Big 12 needs to make a power move. And that's not BYU or Cincinnati. It's not even UCF. They need to poach a big boy program from a big boy conference. How about an SEC team? Missouri, Texas A&M, and Arkansas were all either former Big 12 members or members of the forefathers Southwestern Conference. And they all border current Big 12 territory. And they're all fairly consistently successful. But that SEC money is real strong. I'd say those bridges are burned, even though we'd all love to see the border war and the Longhorn Aggie game come back. Are any Big 14 schools available? Maybe Nebraska. It's the furthest west. Nebraska OU is a game we all want back. But the Big 10 pulls in a ton of money too. Way more than the Big 12 does, or would. And would it really expand the territory? No, the Big 12 needs to think bigger. They need Arizona and Arizona State. Crazy, you say, and you're right. But if the Big 12 is to survive, maybe crazy is what they need. Maybe every brilliant idea is just a crazy idea that ended up working out. And this has real potential. Both these schools are major universities and respected universities. Their teams are strong. Their students are smart. Arizona would instantly make the Big 12 the best basketball conference in America just on its own. And Arizona State isn't too shabby with the hardwood either. Kansas and Arizona would now be a conference game. You get full and total control over the rapidly growing Phoenix market, the 5th biggest market in the country and growing fast. And it even benefits the 2 sun-soaked schools. They can now recruit major talent in Texas, and they get to start their games earlier, meaning more national exposure and attention. And the best part of it all is, it doesn't even affect the Pac-12 that strongly. They lose a big market in Phoenix, but they still have Los Angeles and Seattle and Portland and the Bay Area all locked down. Maybe this for them becomes the catalyst to finally bring UNLV into the conference, even though their academic standards would need to get up to par. Who knows? Anything can happen when you're dealing with conference realignment. Now, will it happen? Probably not. The Big 12 is probably going to disband because its members all want different things, and they can't seem to agree on any kind of consensus about what the league should look like moving forward. But it's fun to dream, and this is quite a dream indeed. Sure, travel would be a bit of a hassle, especially from Morgantown to Phoenix, but you could work around that by giving out subsidies for the various trips that those schools would have to make. The TV deal they'd inevitably get would sweeten things up considerably, especially because any TV deal that includes Dallas and Phoenix and large swaths of the Midwest is going to be pretty full of that sweet, sweet cheddar. Maybe the SEC and the Big 12 would even swap Missouri for West Virginia like I discussed in an earlier video. Who knows? I can't predict the future, or maybe I can. The Big 12 is dying, and it needs to do something if it's going to survive the next collective bargaining agreement. And maybe a crazy idea is the winning idea. Would you be interested to see this? Would you be interested to see Arizona and Texas playing conference games? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time on The Hard Truth.